Welcome back to the channel. Like and sub if you enjoyed the video. Thank you. Chapter 54, The Digital Frontier. The hum of servers filled the room as Michael surveyed the operations center at Green Tech's new digital innovation hub. Located in the heart of Silicon Valley, the hub was a state-of-the-art facility designed to push the boundaries of what technology could achieve in the fight against climate change. As the head of Green Tech's digital division, Michael had overseen its development from the ground up, and today they were about to launch their most ambitious project yet. Everything's set, Michael's assistant, Emily, reported, her eyes scanning the data flowing across multiple screens. The AI is running smoothly and all systems are go. Michael nodded, a mix of excitement and nervousness churning in his gut. They had been working on this for years, and now it was time to see if their efforts would pay off. "Let's do this," he said, taking a deep breath. The project, known as Gaia, was an advanced artificial intelligence system designed to analyze and predict environmental changes on a global scale. By integrating vast amounts of data from satellites, weather stations, and sensors worldwide, Gaia could identify patterns, forecast climate events, and recommend actionable strategies for governments, corporations, and communities to mitigate their impact on the planet. As the countdown clock on the main screen hit 0, the hub's large monitor lit up with a visual representation of Earth. Streams of data began to flow in, and within seconds, Gaia was processing millions of pieces of information, its algorithms sifting through everything from temperature fluctuations to deforestation rates. "Look at that," Emily whispered, her voice filled with awe as Gaia's projections began to take shape on the screen. It was like watching a living, breathing map of the planet, with each change and trend reflected in real time. Michael watched as Gaia identified potential climate threats, from rising sea levels in coastal cities to droughts in agricultural regions. The AI offered solutions, suggesting everything from the construction of seawalls to shifts in crop planting cycles. It was like having the world's most advanced climate expert at their fingertips. "This is incredible," Michael said, unable to hide his excitement. "We can see the entire planet's environmental health in real time and take action before disasters strike." The next step was to present Gaia to the world. Michael had scheduled a virtual conference with leaders from around the globe, where they would unveil the AI and demonstrate its capabilities. The stakes were high. If Gaia performed as expected, it could revolutionize the way the world responded to climate change. The day of the presentation arrived, and the conference room at the Digital Innovation Hub was buzzing with anticipation. Michael stood at the podium, his heart pounding as he looked out at the screens displaying the faces of presidents, prime ministers, CEOs, and environmental activists from every corner of the globe. "Thank you all for joining us today," Michael began, his voice steady. "The challenges we face in combating climate change are immense, but with the right tools, we can rise to meet them. Today, I'm proud to introduce Gaia, an AI system that represents a new frontier in environmental technology." He walked the audience through Gaia's capabilities, showing how the AI could predict natural disasters, optimize resource use, and even suggest policies to reduce carbon emissions. The room was silent as world leaders watched Gaia in action, analyzing data from their own countries and offering tailored recommendations. "For example," Michael continued, "Gaia has identified a potential drought in parts of sub-Saharan Africa. By analyzing weather patterns, soil conditions, and water usage, Gaia predicts that within the next 6 months, certain regions could face severe water shortages. But it doesn't just stop at predicting the problem. Gaia also suggests specific actions, such as investing in water-efficient irrigation systems and implementing conservation practices that could help prevent the worst impacts." The audience was visibly impressed. Questions began pouring in from leaders eager to understand how they could integrate Gaia into their national strategies. Michael answered each one, emphasizing the importance of collaboration and data sharing to maximize Gaia's potential. But not everyone was convinced. A skeptical voice interrupted the flow of questions. It was the CEO of a major energy corporation, known for its heavy reliance on fossil fuels. "This is all very impressive," the CEO said, his tone sharp. "But how can we trust an AI to dictate our policies? Isn't there a risk of relying too much on technology and ignoring the human element?" Michael had anticipated this. "Gaia isn't here to dictate," he replied calmly. It's here to provide data-driven insights that can help inform decisions. The human element is critical. This technology is a tool for leaders like yourselves to use in conjunction with your expertise and knowledge of your regions. Gaia can't replace human judgment, but it can enhance it. The CEO nodded, seemingly satisfied with the answer, and the conversation continued. By the end of the conference, it was clear that Gaia had made an impact. Several countries expressed interest in partnering with green tech to implement the AI, and the feedback from environmental organizations was overwhelmingly positive. After the conference, Michael and Emily sat in the now-quiet conference room, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it," Emily said, a grin spreading across her face. "Gaia is going to change everything." Michael smiled, but his mind was already racing with thoughts of the future. Gaia was just the beginning. There were still so many challenges to tackle, so many ways they could refine and expand the technology. But for now, they had taken a significant step forward in the fight against climate change. As they left the hub that evening, the sun was setting over Silicon Valley, casting a golden glow over the landscape. Michael took a deep breath, feeling a sense of accomplishment and hope. The digital frontier was vast, and with Gaia leading the way, there was no telling what they could achieve. The future of the planet was uncertain, but with the power of technology and human ingenuity, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 55, The Power of Grassroots. In the quiet village of Chandrapur, nestled in the heart of rural India, life moved at a slower pace. The hustle and bustle of cities seemed a world away, and yet the effects of climate change were keenly felt here. Crops were failing, water sources were drying up, and the villagers were struggling to make ends meet. For years, they had relied on traditional farming methods, but as the environment around them changed, those methods were no longer enough. This was where Priya came in, a passionate environmentalist and community organizer. Priya had dedicated her life to helping rural communities adapt to the challenges of climate change. With the support of green tech, she had been working in Chandrapur for the past 6 months, introducing new farming techniques, water conservation practices, and renewable energy solutions. As she walked through the village early one morning, Priya greeted the farmers who were already at work in their fields. Despite the challenges they faced, there was a renewed sense of hope in the air. The crops were starting to look healthier, the water tanks were full, and the solar panels on the rooftops were quietly generating electricity. "Good morning, Priji," called out Mr. Patel, a farmer in his late 50s, as he wiped the sweat from his brow. "The crops are doing well, thanks to your help. I never thought I'd see the day when we'd have such a good harvest again." Priya smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "It's not just me, Mr. Patel. It's the hard work of everyone in the village. You've all embraced these new methods, and it's paying off." Mr. Patel nodded, his eyes shining with gratitude. "We were skeptical at first, but you showed us that change is possible. Now, we're teaching each other, and even neighboring villages are starting to take notice." This was the power of grassroots change. Priya had always believed that true sustainability started at the community level. It wasn't about imposing solutions from the outside. It was about empowering people to take control of their own futures. And in Chandrapur, that philosophy was coming to life. Later that day, Priya gathered the villagers in the community center for their weekly meeting. The room was filled with men, women, and children, all eager to learn and share their experiences. On one side of the room, a group of women were discussing the benefits of the solar cookers they had recently received, while on the other side, a young man was explaining how he had built a rainwater harvesting system for his family's home. "Thank you all for coming," Priya began, addressing the crowd. "I'm so proud of the progress we've made together. But there's still more work to be done. As you know, climate change isn't something that will just go away. We need to keep adapting, keep learning, and keep supporting each other." The villagers nodded in agreement. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, but they were ready to face it together. "I've been in touch with Green Tech," Priya continued, "and they're offering us more resources to expand our efforts. We'll be getting more solar panels, more water tanks, and even some new tools for organic farming. But what's most important is that we keep sharing what we learn with each other and with other villages. The more we spread this knowledge, the stronger we'll be. The room buzzed with excitement. The villagers were already discussing how they could help their neighbors and bring the lessons they had learned to other parts of the region. This was exactly what Priya had hoped for, an empowered community ready to take charge of its destiny. After the meeting, Priya stayed behind to chat with some of the villagers. One of them was Anjali, a young woman in her early 20s who had recently started a small organic vegetable farm with her family. Priyaji, Anjali said shyly, I wanted to thank you. Because of your help, our farm is doing better than ever. We're even thinking of selling our vegetables at the local market. That's wonderful, Anjali, Priya replied, beaming. You're a great example of how innovation and tradition can work together. Keep it up, and you'll inspire others to follow in your footsteps. As the sun began to set, Priya made her way back to her small cottage on the edge of the village. The day had been long, but fulfilling. She sat on the porch, watching the sky turn shades of orange and pink, and reflected on the journey so far. Chandrapur was just one village, but it represented something much larger, a movement of people taking control of their own futures in the face of a changing world. Priya knew that if this movement could spread, the impact would be profound. It wasn't just about saving the environment. It was about creating a better, more sustainable way of life for everyone. The next morning, Priya received a call from Michael at Green Tech. He wanted to know how things were going in Chandrapur and to discuss the next steps for expanding their work to other villages in the region. Michael, things are going better than I could have hoped, Priya said, her voice full of enthusiasm. The villagers are embracing the changes, and they're even teaching others. We're creating something truly special here. That's great to hear, Priya, Michael replied. We've been following your progress closely, and the impact you're having is incredible. We're ready to provide more support, whatever you need. And we're also thinking about bringing some of the villagers to our digital innovation hub to see how their work is influencing our larger projects. Priya's eyes lit up at the idea. That would be amazing, Michael. I think it would really show them how important their work is. And it would be a great opportunity for them to learn even more. As the call ended, Priya felt a renewed sense of purpose. The work in Chandrapur was far from over, but with the support of Green Tech and the determination of the villagers, she knew they were on the right path. The grassroots movement they had started was growing, and its roots were spreading far beyond the boundaries of their small village. And as those roots took hold, Priya knew that they were helping to build a future where communities everywhere could thrive in harmony with the environment, a future where the power of grassroots change could truly make a difference. Chapter 56, The Corporate Conundrum. The boardroom of Empire Industries was a stark contrast to the humble settings of Chandrapur. Sleek and modern, it exuded power and wealth, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city skyline. The air was thick with tension as the company's top executives gathered for a critical meeting. At the head of the table sat Richard Sterling, the CEO, a man known for his sharp mind and even sharper business acumen. But today, his usual confidence was tinged with unease. Empire Industries, one of the largest conglomerates in the world, had been facing increasing scrutiny over its environmental practices. With climate change becoming an ever-pressing issue, the company's reliance on fossil fuels and significant carbon footprint had drawn the ire of activists, governments, and even some of its shareholders. The pressure to change was mounting, and it was clear that business as usual was no longer an option. Let's get straight to the point, Richard began, his voice steady but serious. Our current trajectory is unsustainable. The world is changing, and if we don't adapt, Empire Industries will be left behind. We need to come up with a plan to pivot our operations toward sustainability, and we need to do it fast. The room was silent for a moment as the executives absorbed his words. They were all seasoned professionals, used to navigating complexities of the business world. But the challenge ahead of them was unlike anything they had faced before. After a pause, Karen Lee, the company's chief financial officer, spoke up. Richard, we've run the numbers, and there's no denying that a shift to greener practices will be costly in the short term. Retrofitting our factories, investing in renewable energy, and changing our supply chains will require a massive outlay. We'll need to be strategic about how we approach this. I understand the costs, Karen, Richard replied, But the cost of inaction is even higher. If we don't make these changes, we risk losing market share, facing regulatory penalties, and damaging our brand. Consumers are demanding more from companies, and they're willing to take their business elsewhere if we don't meet their expectations. At the other end of the table, Javier Rodriguez, the head of operations, chimed in. We've been exploring partnerships with renewable energy providers, and there are some promising options. But the real challenge will be transitioning our existing infrastructure. Some of our plants are decades old, and retrofitting them will be a major undertaking. Richard nodded, his mind racing as he considered the enormity of the task. Empire Industries was a behemoth, with tentacles in industries ranging from oil and gas to manufacturing and logistics. Shifting such a vast enterprise toward sustainability would require a monumental effort, but it was a challenge they could no longer avoid. We need a comprehensive plan, Richard said, his tone resolute, not just to meet regulatory requirements, but to truly transform our business. This isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving in the new economy. I want us to be leaders in this space, not followers. The executives exchanged glances, sensing the gravity of the moment. Richard was asking them to do more than just tweak the company's operations. He was asking them to fundamentally change the way they did business. Let's start by identifying the key areas where we can make the most impact, Richard continued. Javier, work with the operations team to map out a timeline for retrofitting our plants. Karen, I need you to figure out the financing. We'll need to be creative. But there are opportunities out there for companies that take sustainability seriously. And Susan, he added, turned to the head of marketing. I want a plan to communicate our new direction to the public. We need to show that we're not just paying lip service to this issue, but that we're committed to making real change. Susan nodded, already thinking of ways to rebrand the company's image. We can leverage our existing platforms to share stories of our transition, maybe even partner with influencers and environmental organizations to amplify our message. As the meeting continued, the executives began to brainstorm ideas, their initial hesitation giving way to a sense of determination. The challenge was immense, but there was also a sense of excitement in the room, an opportunity to reshape the future of Empire Industries and set a new standard for the industry. By the time the meeting adjourned, they had laid the groundwork for a plan that would be refined in the coming weeks. Richard felt a flicker of hope as he watched his team file out of the room. They had a long road ahead of them, but he was confident they could rise to the occasion. Later that evening, Richard sat alone in his office, the city lights twinkling outside his window. The enormity of the task weighed heavily on his shoulders, but he knew it was the right thing to do. Empire Industries had always been a leader in the corporate world, and now it was time for them to lead in a different way. As he reviewed the notes from the meeting, Richard's phone buzzed with a message from an old friend, Michael from Green Tech. They had known each other for years, having crossed paths at various industry events, but they hadn't spoken in a while. Richard, I've been hearing some interesting things about Empire's new direction. If you're serious about making this transition, I'd love to collaborate. Let's talk. Richard smiled as he read the message. Green Tech was at the forefront of environmental innovation, and a partnership with them could be exactly what Empire Industries needed to accelerate its transformation. He quickly typed a reply. Michael, it's great to hear from you. Let's set up a meeting. I think we have a lot to discuss. As he hit send, Richard felt a surge of optimism. The path ahead would be challenging, but with the right partners and a clear vision, he knew they could navigate it successfully. Empire Industries was about to embark on the most significant transformation in its history, and Richard was determined to see it through. The corporate conundrum was real, but so was the opportunity to create lasting change. And for the first time in a long while, Richard felt like they were on the right side of history. Chapter 57, A Glimpse into Future. In the sprawling digital innovation hub of Green Tech, the air buzzed with excitement. The facility, a marvel of modern design, was filled with cutting-edge technology, from holographic displays to autonomous drones zipping through the air. Engineers, scientists, and entrepreneurs mingled in open workspaces, sharing ideas that would shape the future of sustainability. Today, however, the hub was hosting some special guests. A group of villagers from Chandrapur, accompanied by Priya, had been invited to see firsthand how their grassroots efforts were influencing global innovation. For many of the villagers, this was their first time outside their rural community, let alone in a place like this. Priya looked around, feeling a mix of pride and anticipation. She had seen how far Chandrapur had come, and now, the villagers were about to witness the broader impact of their work. The opportunity to visit Green Tech's hub was more than just an educational experience. It was a chance to see how their contributions were helping to drive a global movement. As they entered the main atrium, Michael, the head of Green Tech's Innovation Division, greeted them with a warm smile. "Welcome to Green Tech," he said, addressing the group. "We're thrilled to have you here. What you accomplished in Chandrapur is truly inspiring, and we can't wait to show you how your efforts are influencing the work we do here." The villagers, a mix of men, women, and a few teenagers, looked around in awe. The sleek, futuristic environment was worlds apart from their village, but there was an undercurrent of familiarity, the same sense of purpose and commitment to a better future that had driven their work back home. Michael led them on a tour of the facility, starting with the innovation labs where engineers were developing new renewable energy technologies. The villagers watched in fascination as they were shown prototypes of solar panels designed to be more efficient and affordable, perfect for rural communities like theirs. "These panels are based on feedback from projects like yours," explained one of the engineers. "We've been working on making them easier to install and maintain, so more people in remote areas can benefit from clean energy." The group then moved to a section of the hub dedicated to water conservation. Here, they saw models of rainwater harvesting systems and water purification devices, similar to the ones Priya had helped introduce in Chandrapur. The villagers exchanged glances, realizing that the solutions they had embraced were not only practical, but part of a larger global effort to address water scarcity. As they continued to the hub, they arrived at a large, interactive display showcasing Green Tech's global projects. The screen highlighted different regions where the company was working with local communities to implement sustainable practices. To the villagers' surprise, Chandrapur was featured prominently among these projects. "Chandrapur's success story is one we're proud to share," Michael said, pointing to the display. "Your village is a model for how grassroots initiatives can create lasting change. It's a story we're sharing with partners around the world to inspire similar efforts." The villagers beamed with pride. Seeing their village on the global stage was a powerful validation of their hard work and dedication. They realized that they were not just recipients of aid. They were contributors to a worldwide movement. After the tour, the group gathered in a conference room where Michael and his team had set up a presentation. The room was filled with large screens displaying real-time data and futuristic concepts that Green Tech was developing to further its mission of sustainability. "We've shown you some of the innovations we're working on," Michael began, "but we also want to hear from you. What challenges are you still facing? How can we improve what we're doing to better serve communities like yours?" One of the villagers, an elderly man named Mr. Kumar, raised his hand. "We've made great progress with water conservation and renewable energy, but we're still struggling with waste management. The village produces more waste than we know what to do with, and it's becoming a problem." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "Waste management is a common challenge in many rural areas. We've been experimenting with small-scale, community-driven recycling programs and composting systems. Perhaps we could work together to pilot some of these ideas in Chandrapur." Priya chimed in, adding her perspective on the importance of education and training. "One of the keys to our success has been empowering the villagers with knowledge. The more they understand the technologies and practices, the more they can adapt and innovate on their own. I think continued education will be crucial." Michael agreed. "We're exploring ways to make education more accessible, using digital tools and local trainers. We could create a tailored program for Chandrapur that covers everything from waste management to advanced farming techniques." The conversation continued, with the villagers sharing their insights and challenges, while the Green Tech team listened attentively. It was clear that this was not just a one-way exchange of ideas. It was a collaboration, with both sides learning from each other. As the day drew to a close, Michael announced a special surprise. "Before you leave, we have something to show you, something that we think will have a big impact on your village and others like it." He led the group to a section of the hub where a sleek, solar-powered vehicle was parked. It was a prototype for a new type of electric vehicle designed specifically for rural communities. Compact and robust, it was capable of navigating rough terrain and was equipped with a small solar panel on the roof to charge its battery. "This is our latest innovation," Michael explained. "It's an affordable, sustainable solution for transportation in rural areas. We're planning to pilot these in a few communities, and we'd like Chandrapur to be one of the first." The villagers were thrilled at the prospect. Reliable transportation was a major issue in their village, and this vehicle could make a huge difference in their daily lives. As the group prepared to leave, Priya took a moment to reflect on what they had seen and learned. The trip to Green Tech had been eye-opening, not just for the villagers, but for her as well. It was a reminder that their work in Chandrapur was part of something much bigger, a global effort to create a sustainable future. On the ride back to their hotel, the villagers buzzed with excitement, discussing all the new ideas they had encountered. They couldn't wait to return home and share what they had learned with the rest of the community. Priya smiled as she listened to them talk. The future was indeed bright, not just for Chandrapur, but for all the communities around the world that were rising to meet the challenges of climate change. And she knew that together, they would continue to make a difference one step at a time.